Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going on a wild journey, deep inside one of the most powerful biological factories on the entire planet. Yeah, we're shrinking down to explore the incredible microscopic world living inside a cow. See, when you feed a cow, you're not just feeding, well, a cow. You're actually feeding a bustling, microscopic city. We're talking trillions of tiny organisms all living inside its stomach. So this hidden world, this kind of inner universe, it's called the rumen. And you can think of it like a giant 24/7 fermentation factory. It's got this incredible power to take something as tough as grass and just turn it into pure energy. Basically, the rumen is this special stomach compartment where a whole community of microbes does the one thing the cow itself can't do, break down super tough plant fibers. But here's the crazy part. This whole intricate ecosystem, it isn't there from day one. It has to be built completely from scratch. Okay, so that brings up a really fascinating question, right? How does a newborn calf, which is born with a totally sterile gut, end up with this amazingly complex world inside of it? Well, it all starts with the very first microbes a calf picks up from its mom and just, the world around it. These first little guys are kind of like the first tenants moving into a brand new, totally empty building. They're the ones who get the lights on and set the stage for everyone else who's going to move in later. And what's wild is that it happens in a super specific, predictable order. Like on day 2, you get these anaerobic bacteria showing up and they create an oxygen-free zone. Then, about a week later, fungi and the methane producers, we call them methanogens, they arrive. And finally, after about 2 weeks, the bigger protozoa show up. But they can only move in once the bacteria have built up a big enough community to support them. It's like a perfectly choreographed move-in. So once everyone's moved in and settled, this community of microbes forms one of the most powerful and honestly one of the most perfect symbiotic partnerships you'll find anywhere in nature. It's basically a deal, right? A symbiotic contract. The cow gives the microbes this perfect home. It's warm, it's wet, there's no oxygen, and there's a constant buffet of pre-chewed food. And what do the microbes give back? They give the cow the superpower to digest tough stuff like grass. They provide a source of high-quality protein and a steady supply of energy in the form of these things called volatile fatty acids. That's the main fuel the cow actually runs on. It's a total win-win, and both sides benefit, big time. And inside this microbial city, everybody has a very specific job. You've got the bacteria, they're the main workforce, digesting all the sugars, starch, fiber, and protein. Then you have the fungi, they're like the demolition crew. Their job is to physically crack open the tough plant fibers so the bacteria can get in and do their thing. And the protozoa? They're kind of like the managers, keeping everything in check by swallowing bacteria and starch to control the populations. It's an incredibly specialized team. Now, this ecosystem is super powerful, but it's also really sensitive to what the cow eats. I mean, a cow's natural diet is forage, we're talking grass and hay, but in a lot of modern agriculture, they get fed grain instead. And this difference, well, it led scientists to ask a really critical question. Yeah, what happens to this amazing inner world if you switch the cow's diet from high-fiber forage to high-starch green? A recent study on Angus bulls decided to find out, pitting these two very different diets against each other. And the results? They were pretty significant. Just look at this table. The grain diet totally changed the microbial landscape and the cow's output. So methane production went down and the bulls gained weight faster. But check this out. The populations of bacteria and fungi absolutely plummeted. What's so striking here is just how clear the difference in methane production is. The bulls on the forage diet, they were pumping out 18 liters of methane for every single kilogram of feed they ate. But the grain-fed bulls? Only 14.8 liters. That is a really big drop. So what's the takeaway here? This shift in diet had 2 huge consequences, one for efficiency and one for the environment. Basically, less gas and more growth. So get this, the biggest point is that just by changing the feed from forage to grain, methane production, and remember, methane is a really potent greenhouse gas, was cut by almost a fifth. We're talking 18% to be exact. But that wasn't the whole story. At the exact same time, the bulls on that grain diet grew faster and way more efficiently. And the study showed why. That high-starch grain diet knocked down the populations of the fiber-digesting bacteria and fungi, and that shifted the entire system's energy output. This image here just brilliantly illustrates how complex it is inside the rumen. This is basically a map of the microbial neighborhood. Every single line shows a relationship between different types of microbes. It's not just a random jumble of bugs in there, it is a deeply interconnected network where every single player is linked to the others.
And this next map really shows how diet is the one pulling all the strings. See those red dots? They represent the grain-fed bowls, and they're all clustered together. It shows how changing the diet acts like a giant magnet, pulling the whole system, the microbes, the animal's growth, its emissions, everything in a totally new direction.
But, here's maybe the most fascinating part of all. The researchers found no direct link between the sheer number of microbes and how efficient the cow was. This points to this amazing concept called functional redundancy. Basically, it means the rumen is incredibly resilient. If some microbes disappear, others can just step up and do a similar job, making sure the whole factory keeps running smoothly. So the big takeaway here is that by understanding this inner universe, we get a powerful new tool. The diet we give these animals can literally engineer their microbiome. And that leaves us with a final, pretty big thought to chew on. If we can reshape a cow's inner world to cut methane and improve growth, what else could we optimize for a more sustainable future?